Incredible revelation, heartwarming bond between Billionaire's disabled son and amazing black gifted street artist. Ethan stood at the entrance of the community center, his heart racing. The bright colors of the art exhibition sparkled like jewels against the grim backdrop of gray reality that often surrounded him. Many would see the glittering facade of his family's wealth, expensive cars, stately homes, yet all he felt was a hollowness echoing in his chest. In a world where he was defined by the wheelchair that confined him, Ethan craved authentic connection. His warm smile was often met with gazes of pity, not friendship. That evening, the center buzzed with life, families mingling, children giggling, laughter blending with the music drifting through the air. Ethan's attending heart filled with hope. Perhaps this time he'd find someone who'd see past his disability. He wheeled himself toward the vibrant murals on display, each piece telling stories of struggle and triumph. He was mesmerized by the expressive strokes that felt like they breathed hope into the room. Suddenly, chaos erupted. A loud crash resonated through the center. A spray can rolled across the floor after an act of vandalism disrupted the event. Gasps echoed as fairy tale dreams shattered in an instant. From a corner, Jamal emerged, eyes sharp and resolute. He was a young artist, a quiet storm of talent and defiance, thriving amidst hardship that hung like storm clouds over his life. As the crowd turned, eyes narrowed with suspicion, Ethan didn't hesitate. "Let us help clean this up," he exclaimed, rolling toward the sprawled colors that marred the walls. Jamal, surprised but intrigued, followed, hesitant at first. This was a boy who lived in a world that didn't ask for his struggle, yet dared to lend a hand. "You sure you want to get your hands dirty?" Jamal asked, both amused and wary. Ethan chuckled, his voice light. "I can always wash off the paint. It's harder to wash off the feeling of being alone." With each stroke of paint they corrected together, barriers crumbled. Ethan shared stories of his dreams trapped behind gilded gates, while Jamal spoke of the vibrancy of his community often overshadowed by fear and neglect. The night transformed, colors blending in more than just art. They created a tapestry of shared experiences. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the exhibition continued, doubt simmered around them. Ethan felt the weight of his privilege pressing down, often leading to judgment from his peers who looked at Jamal with disdain. Meanwhile, Jamal's community questioned Ethan's motivations, wary of someone who had everything while they had nothing. The world seemed split into two glaring sides, their friendship dangling above an abyss of misunderstanding, but together, they began to defy that very divide, drawing strength from their differences. Yet, just when they began to form a bond that felt unbreakable, an unexpected incident would shatter everything they had built. The echoes of judgment returned with more vengeance, threatening to paint a reality neither boy was ready to confront. As the layers of paint dried on the walls, each boy battled their deepest fears, Ethan with his solitude and Jamal with looming stereotypes. They had spun a delicate web of trust, but could it survive the tempest waiting just outside, darker than any mural they'd ever painted together? Ethan and Jamal stood side by side, surrounded by the remnants of their hard work. The murals now glowed, vibrant and alive, reflecting the hard-fought connection they had forged that night. But the air turned electric as a sharp voice sliced through the chatter. "Ethan! What are you doing here with him?" A girl from Ethan's school, Vanessa, stepped forward with a smirk painted across her face. Behind her, a group of students followed, laughter bubbling up like a pot ready to boil over. Ethan's heart raced, and a lump formed in his throat. He had hoped to escape the judgment of his peers for just one night. To share a moment of genuine connection. "We're just helping," he replied, forcing himself to sound casual, the smile faltering as the reality of the moment crashed over him. "Helping? Really? Looks more like charity work to me, Vanessa shot back, her words dripping with disdain. Jamal tensed beside him, fists clenching as he readied himself for the onslaught. Ignoring Vanessa, Ethan turned to Jamal, trying to salvage the moment. "We were just talking about art and dreams," he said, attempting to drown out the negativity that echoed around them. Jamal nodded, but his face tightened. It was a familiar weight that he felt in the company of those who struggled to see beyond the surface. "Yeah. There's a lot of beauty in both our worlds. It's not about what we have, it's about what we create," he responded, his voice steady, yet tinged with hurt. The laughter quieted, eyes shifting from Ethan to Jamal, barely masking their disapproval. "A touching moment, really, but you need to wake up. You think he wants to hang out with you? He's just playing the good guy," Vanessa sneered. Ethan felt a pang of frustration. This wasn't what he wanted. He looked at Jamal, really looked at him, and saw not just an artist, but a person who deserved respect and recognition. "That's not true. We're friends, and that's all that matters." Suddenly, Jamal's expression softened, just a hint of surprise lurking in his eyes. In that moment, their understanding transcended the bemused judgment of the crowd. But then, Jamal spoke with a mix of determination and resignation. "Friendship takes strength, Ethan. If you see me that way, don't let them pull you back into the shadows." Ethan felt the weight of those words. He knew what Jamal was saying. He had lived in the comfort of a sheltered world, and Jamal had faced a harsher reality. In that exchange, the gravity of their friendship truly sank in, but before the moment could deepen, a commotion escalated. Someone bumped into Vanessa, spilling juice over her white shirt. Gasps erupted, and the atmosphere flipped again. She lashed out, her voice rising above the chatter. "You get away from me. This is your fault." She pointed at Jamal, fingers shaking in accusation. Ethan's heart sank. He sensed a spark igniting in Jamal's eyes, a flash of anger mixed with vulnerability. The chasm of misunderstanding loomed wide. "Stop. This isn't right," Ethan shouted, the words tumbling out almost against his will. The room quieted, all eyes on him. He needed to stand up for himself, for Jamal, for something beyond the boundaries of privilege and prejudice. In that charged silence, Ethan's heartbeat thudded in his ears. Perhaps this was where the real test of their bond lay. Would he fight against the tide or let their connection dilute under the weight of judgment? But just as he opened his mouth to speak again, a sudden crash from the back of the room jolted him. The unpredictable nature of this night was far from over, putting both boys on the edge of a confrontation neither was prepared for. What would happen when the walls they had worked to build began to crumble again? Ethan glanced behind him, where the sound had come from. A table had tipped over, sending art supplies spilling across the floor like a mini avalanche. The chaos shocked everyone into stillness, and for a brief moment, it was as if time held its breath. What just happened? Vanessa snapped, her anger shifting direction as she took stock of the scene. Jamal's tense posture relaxed slightly. He turned away from her gaze, shifting his focus to the mess. "Maybe it's just an accident," he murmured, trying to keep the peace. "An accident?" Vanessa scoffed. "This whole night is a mess. Look at you two." She gestured wildly, her frustration spilling over. "You think this is some kind of charity gala? You don't belong here." Ethan felt heat rushing to his cheeks. He wanted to retaliate, to lash out at Vanessa and defend Jamal, but the words escaped him. Instead, he lowered his voice and turned to Jamal. "We should help clean this up." Jamal nodded, a flicker of gratitude sparking in his eyes. They both moved instinctively toward the fallen supplies, trying to restore some semblance of order. The laughter had faded, and now all that remained were lingering whispers and probing looks from classmates. As they knelt together, Ethan felt a connection deepen with every brush stroke they cleaned up. It wasn't just about the art, it was about standing side by side despite the noise around them. "Thanks for having my back," Jamal said quietly, a shy smile breaking through his earlier hurt. Always, Ethan replied, feeling a surge of courage. You're more than what they see. Their shared moment was unexpected and beautiful, a grounding force amidst the chaos swirling around them. But just as they started to stand back up, another loud voice rang out from the crowd. Hey, Jamal. Why don't you just get out of here? You think you can talk to Ethan like some big shot? He'll never actually be your friend. A guy named Connor, known for his aggressive attitude, stepped forward. The smirk on his face was a clear signal of the drama that was about to explode. Ethan's chest tightened. He felt Jamal tense beside him, and the weight of his friend's past seeped into the air between them. Enough! Ethan shouted again, as if his voice could single-handedly close the gap between judgment and understanding. You don't know anything about Jamal. This is not just some game. Jamal looked surprised, a flicker of hope darting across his face. The room was silent again, the mocking laughter now replaced by palpable tension. Why do you care, Ethan? He's just a loser. Connor spat back, his tone dripping with contempt. In that moment, the truth struck hard in Ethan's chest. It was more than just a defense of Jamal, it was about his own identity, his own refusal to align with the easy path of conformity. He realized he had to make a choice, one that would likely change everything. It's not about being cool or popular, Ethan said, the conviction in his voice surprising even himself. It's about being real. Jamal is real and he's my friend. A heavy silence blanketed the crowd. The shift was tangible, a crack began to form in the wall of prejudice and privilege that had held them captive for too long. But before the moment could settle, someone nearby whispered, "Look at their mural. It's amazing." Others began murmuring in agreement, curiosity pulling them away from the conflict. As more eyes turned towards the vibrant colors they had painted together, something new sparked in Ethan. Fear and doubt began to dissolve, leaving room for a different kind of strength. "Let us show them," Jamal said, glancing at the mural, and then back at Ethan, his eyes shining with hope. "Let us share our story." Ethan nodded, feeling exhilarated at the idea. But deep down, he sensed the stakes had just risen. How do we even begin? He asked, excitement and uncertainty swirling together. As voices grew louder, the tension transformed into a curious buzz. Would they seize this moment and step into the spotlight, or would they retreat into the shadows, the way they had been told to do? Could this be the moment that defined their friendship, fusing their worlds into one? And would the crowd accept them, or only amplify the divisions that had long existed? Ethan took a deep breath, the anticipation almost tangibly vibrating in the air around them. It felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, with a vast unknown waiting below. Jamal touched his arm briefly, grounding him in the moment. "Let us just start talking," Jamal said softly. His determination shone through his nervousness, and for a moment, Ethan felt a warmth spread within him. They weren't just the art students in the corner of the room anymore, they were partners poised to share something real. "Okay," Ethan replied, his voice steady. "What should we say? Maybe just tell them why we created the mural. What it means to us," Jamal suggested, his breath catching a little. Ethan nodded, looking around the crowd. The buzzing had shifted to a hum of curiosity. Eyes that had once been filled with scorn now glittered with intrigue. "All right, let us do it. You ready?" "Let us go." Jamal took a breath, his shoulders squared. Together, they stepped from behind their fallen treasures, drawing attention with each step. "Listen up, everyone," Ethan called out, his voice ringing clear. The chatter quieted as heads turned in their direction. "Jamal and I made this mural together, and it's more than just paint on a wall for us." Jamal stepped forward, emboldened. "It's about connection, about being seen, really seen, and about who we are outside of what others think. I've faced a lot of challenges," his voice faltered slightly, but then he pressed on. "But art has always been a way for me to express myself, and Ethan helped bring that to life." Ethan felt a swell of pride. It was so much more than just a project, it was a battle cry. We wanted to show that everyone has a story, and it's important to share it. The crowd's expressions shifted from skepticism to engagement. A murmur passed through them. They were leaning in, intrigued by the sincerity etched on both boys' faces. And about friendship, Ethan continued. It's not defined by what others say or by who fits in. Jamal has been my friend since we started this crazy art class, and I've learned so much more about myself by being next to him. He glanced at Jamal. Their gazes locked, and for just a moment, everything else faded away. Jamal's smile was slight but powerful, a spark igniting that changed everything. Before Ethan could speak again, Connor interrupted with a scowl. So what? This doesn't change anything. He crossed his arms, glaring. You think people will care about a stupid mural? But before Ethan could respond, a girl from the crowd spoke up. I care. I want to know more. Whispers spread like wildfire. Other voices joined in, emboldened, turning toward each other, their previous biases beginning to unravel. The tide had turned. Ethan's heart raced. This mural is painted with our hopes and our struggles. Jamal showed me that being different is powerful. I'm asking you to look beyond the surface. In that moment, the tension transformed into something lighter, and for the first time that night, a sense of unity filled the room. Can I help with the next one? Someone shouted from the back. It was followed by a chorus of agreements, excitement electrifying the air. Jamal's eyes widened, astonishment mixing with joy. Really? Yes. Shouted another voice. Let us create something together, as a whole. Ethan turned to Jamal, the overwhelming emotion nearly spilling over. They had ignited something. Maybe we can paint something that means even more to everyone, Jamal suggested, animated. Make it a collaboration. Exactly. Ethan replied, grinning. Hope danced in his chest. What began as a defensive moment had transformed into a call for unity. But just then, a familiar face broke through the crowd. Vanessa stepped forward, her expression unreadable. Wait, she said, her voice wavering. What does this really mean for us? Ethan felt a rush of realization. The dynamics were shifting, and questions hung heavy in the air. Did this mean change? Acceptance? But what would her answer bring? What would it mean for Ethan and Jamal as they dared to step into this new light? The uncertainty loomed as loud as their acceptance. Would they transform their world, or would old habits die hard? Ethan watched Vanessa closely, the weight of her question hanging like a dark cloud. The crowd quieted, anticipation hanging in the air. A few moments stretched into what felt like hours. He sensed Jamal's hand brushing against his, a comforting reminder that they were in this together. Vanessa's gaze darted between Ethan and Jamal, confusion mixing with a budding curiosity. What if our stories are not so different? She asked, her voice gaining more strength with each word. The tension in the room shifted slightly, as if everyone were leaning forward, holding their breath. I think that's exactly it. Jamal stepped up, eyes sparkling with emotion. We all have struggles, and they can be a bridge for us to connect, not walls that push us apart. He paused, scanning the faces in the crowd. This mural represents our stories, but it can also become a canvas for the whole school, for everyone here. We have to build this together. Ethan nodded vigorously. We can create something that reflects all our experiences, our joys, our pains. His heart raced. Art can be a shared language, one that unites us rather than divides us. Art isn't just for the popular kids or the ones who fit a mold. It should belong to everyone, Vanessa said, surprising herself with her boldness. If we make it together, maybe it can help us understand each other better. The crowd murmured in agreement. A buzz of energy swirled around, and that spark of hope began to flicker brighter. Ethan could see more than intrigue in their faces, he saw possibility. Imagine painting with voices we've never heard, Jamal added, a fire igniting behind his eyes. Let us include everyone. We could share stories of who we are, all our different colors right here. Totally, one student chimed in from the back, their enthusiasm igniting the others. I'd love to help. I have a story to share. As hands began to go up, Ethan felt the tide of acceptance swell around them. Each voice that joined the chorus was a tremor, nudging the walls of division further apart. It felt different now, like barriers were crumbling, replaced by a sense of unity they had only dreamt of before. Vanessa smiled, her earlier hesitance melting away. So how do we start? Her question resonated across the room, quieting even the most doubtful. Ethan and Jamal exchanged glances filled with excitement and disbelief. What had started as a single mural meant for two had morphed into a community project. They had opened a door, and now everyone wanted to step through. How about a brainstorming session? Ethan suggested, leading them to a circle on the floor. We can share ideas, themes, anything that matters to us. The room vibrated with anticipation as students piled in, eager to lend their thoughts, their stories. A young girl began to sketch ideas, others chimed in, and slowly, the connection they had hoped for grew stronger. But just as excitement soared, Connor's voice cut through the chatter, sharp as a blade. You really think this will work? He scoffed. Can a mural really change anything? His doubt loomed, casting a shadow over the moment. Ethan felt his heart sink at the challenge but couldn't ignore the fire igniting inside him. This was the perfect chance to show what they were capable of. We're going to find out, he said firmly, emotions roiling in his chest. With everyone's voices. We're in this together now, and that changes everything. The crowd fell silent for a moment, then erupted in cheers. A collective energy surged, drowning out Connor's doubts. Jamal grinned, pride radiating from him. This was more than just art, it was a movement. Ethan smiled back. Yet in the midst of celebration, he wondered, would they have the strength to face any further challenges ahead, especially Connor's relentless skepticism? As they began brainstorming, the question lingered in the air, hinting at the journey that lay ahead. The brainstorming session took off like a spark. Ideas flew from students to students, each one building on the last. Faces lit up with enthusiasm as they tossed around themes of resilience, hope, and community. Ethan stood by, watching the flood of creativity. He felt a rush of pride and joy. This was becoming something bigger than he ever imagined. He caught Vanessa's eye across the circle. Her smile was contagious as she sketched an outline for the mural, a combination of stars and hands, representing dreams and unity. You really think we can do this? She whispered, leaning in closer to him. Absolutely, he whispered back, feeling the energy of the moment. Everyone here wants to be heard. Just then, Jamal stood up, tapping his finger against a tabletop to gather everyone's attention. Let us make sure we include everyone's stories, he urged, a spark in his eyes. We should make a list of experiences we want to capture. Maybe we can even assign colors to different themes. Like blue for sadness? Someone suggested. And yellow for joy. Shouted another. Ethan took a deep breath. This was happening. They were building something together, brick by brick, or in this case, color by color. The foundation they were laying felt solid, and he couldn't shake the feeling that something special was brewing. However, Connor hadn't disappeared into the background. He hovered at the edge of the circle, arms crossed, watching with a half-smirk. He clearly wasn't convinced. It gnawed at Ethan, but he chose not to let Connor's negativity sway the group's spirit. "Simon, man, you could join us," Ethan called out to him. "Help us make this mural." "I don't need to waste my time with a bunch of kids playing make-believe," Connor shot back, his tone sharp like glass. Ethan's heart sank, yet the murmurings of his peers became louder, drowning out the tension. "You're wrong," a girl named Mia chimed in, standing up confidently. "What if we paint your story too? You don't have to be so alone in this." That caught Ethan by surprise. Instead of running away, Connor paused, staring at Mia as if she had pierced through his carefully built defenses. The whole room shifted its focus, the air was ripe with possibility. "Maybe it's time for you to share, Connor," Vanessa added, her voice calm yet steady. "What experiences shaped you?" The challenge hung in the air like an unfinished symphony, waiting for Connor's response. Ethan felt a rush of anticipation. This was the moment that could change everything, that could either break or solidify the connection they all sought. Connor's defenses wavered for just a second, and for a heartbeat, it seemed like he might just crack open. But then that familiar wall slammed back down, his shoulders tightened, his expression hardened. "Yeah, right," he laughed bitterly. "As if my story matters." The energy in the room shifted again, but this time more so toward concern than hope. Ethan's heart raced, his opportunity was slipping away. Jamal noticed too, and without missing a beat, he stepped forward to Connor. "What if it matters more than you think?" he said, his voice steady. It was a soft but clear challenge. Ethan held his breath, uncertain if this would be the moment it all came together or if it would blow up in their faces. Would Connor take the chance to be vulnerable, or would he retreat into the shadows? Their futures hinged on this fragile moment, and Ethan felt a gut-wrenching mix of hope and fear. As silence fell, the question remained poised, waiting to be answered: would they embrace their differences, or allow this moment to slip away? Connor shifted his weight from one foot to the other, eyes darting around the room like a trapped animal. Ethan felt the collective breath of hope deflate slightly as worry washed over the group. "Your story matters," came Mia's voice again, soft and insistent. "Whatever it is, it deserves to be painted. This mural is about all of us, including you." Ethan's heart ached. He glanced at Connor, who was still locked in a battle between silence and the urge to speak. The flickering light of vulnerability was dim but present. Would Connor allow himself to step into the light? "What if we all shared our stories?" Ethan proposed, his eagerness to bridge the gap shining through. "We can each take turns, paint a piece, and show how we've grown. No one is alone in this." Vanessa nodded, her voice calm but encouraging. "This isn't just about art, it's about connection. We all find strength in sharing." Connor's fingers flexed as if wrestling with a decision. The room held its breath, and Jamal leaned in, his eyes steady but gentle. "You're not just hearing their stories. You're letting them know you see them, Connor. And they want to see you too." The challenge was set, and the room felt electric. Ethan saw the conflict raging inside Connor, the urge to resist battling against the deep-seated desire to be heard, to belong, to not be alone. "I don't have a story," Connor finally muttered, shrugging his shoulders in an almost defensive manner. "What's there to tell?" "You'd be surprised," Ethan urged, stepping a bit closer. "We all face stuff that hurts. It could be the smallest thing. It could be a moment that shaped you. Sharing it can set you free." Connor's jaw clenched. It was clear he was caught between fear and the faintest light of hope. As the seconds dragged on, the vulnerability in the room cut deep. It was a shared silence, making space for what lay beneath the surface of Connor's guarded demeanor. Mia took a step forward. "We're all scared. I mean, look at us. We each have our struggles. But that's how we become stronger, right? By being brave together." And then a flicker of something stirred in Connor's eyes, a glimmer of realization that he was not the outsider, nor did he have to face this alone. The wall might crack, just a little. What if Ethan spoke again, his voice lower, almost a whisper? "What if the very thing you think makes you unworthy can be the force that connects us?" Connor hesitated. The words hung there, weaving a thread of possibility, wrapping around the cracks in his armor. Finally, he opened his mouth as if to speak but shut it just as fast. The moment lingered, thick with uncertainty. Then, as if summoned by their shared energy, he took a deep, shaky breath. "Fine. But if I do this, if I actually take part, it can't be just a half-hearted effort. Deal, Jamal replied, a nod of encouragement on his face. If you're in, we're all in. Ethan felt a surge of relief, hope blooming within him. It was more than just a mural now, it was an invitation, a gathering place where stories interwove like ribbons in the wind. The circle began to buzz again, excitement sparking anew. Yet, Ethan could see it in Connor's eyes, a flicker of fear still lingered. What would happen when he finally opened up? As they collectively began to brainstorm themes for their stories, Ethan stole a glance at Connor, now participating in small ways. Would this be the moment Connor found more than just acceptance? The sound of laughter filled the room, mixing with the vibrant energy of creativity, but as Ethan looked at Connor, he knew this was just the prelude to something bigger. They were about to take a leap, and he could feel the weight of anticipation. Had they found the key to unlock not just Connor's story, but their own understanding of each other? The mural was beginning to take shape in more ways than one, but was Connor ready for the next step? Would he really share his story, and what truths lay just beneath the surface? Connor sat at the edge of the circle, his heart racing, every voice around him blending into a hum of encouragement. As they tossed around ideas for themes, he felt something awakening inside, an uneasy stir but a thrilling one too. They were discussing moments of joy and pain, victory and loss. Was he ready to join this chorus? So, who wants to go first? Mia's question brought all eyes back to the group. Vanessa shot her hand up excitedly. I'll go, she said, her smile infectious. I want to paint about the time I played in the state soccer finals. I never thought I'd even make the team, but there I was, leading my friends to a win. It changed how I saw myself. Laughter and playful teasing erupted as she mimicked the game, showing off her soccer skills in her own animated way. The room felt lighter, filled with camaraderie and laughter. Next, Jamal spoke about how he overcame his fear of public speaking, sharing a cringy but funny story from his own life. Each laugh and cheer for him urged Connor closer to a leap he was terrified to take. With every story shared, the walls he carefully built around himself seeped a little more. As Vanessa finished and the group erupted in applause, Connor's heart hammered, almost drowning out the voices around him. All right, who's next? Ethan asked, locking eyes with Connor for a brief moment. There was something in Ethan's gaze that said, "You can do this." A knot formed in Connor's stomach. He shifted awkwardly, glancing down at his hands, feeling small and exposed. What could he possibly share that would matter? Just then, the laughter faded, and to his surprise, a rush of warmth washed over him, pulling him to speak. Okay, the word tumbled from his lips, catching him off guard. A few eyes widened in surprise, but he pressed onward. I guess I could go. Maybe. The room grew silent, all attention focused entirely on him. Wow, they really wanted to hear him. The realization sent his heart racing again, but now it felt more like hope than dread. I used to think I was invisible. The confession surprised even him. I mean, that's how I've felt for most of my life. At home with my family, I felt like I didn't fit into their world. I spent time in the shadows, not wanting to be a burden, just blending in. But then, a few months ago, something happened. He took a breath, searching for the right words. The faces in front of him were etched with encouragement. There was this time my best friend, Sam, celebrated his birthday. He invited everyone, but I wasn't on the list. I ended up sitting alone at home. It stung, you know. I realized it doesn't matter if you're there because you never want to show up if you become a footnote in someone else's story. His voice trembled at the edges as he continued. With every word, Connor felt the heaviness of his fears lifting, revealing layers he thought he'd never unravel. But now I think I want to be part of my own story. The mural means something much bigger to me now. It's a chance to show that I'm here to stay, to be seen. The silence that followed was thick with emotion. Then came a soft ripple of applause, building into a chorus of cheers. Mia beamed. That was beautiful, Connor. Ethan grinned wide, his eyes sparkling with pride. You painted that moment perfectly, man. And look where you are now, sharing it with us. Connor had never felt so alive, so connected. With every story told, a bond was forming like the colors they'd splattered together. As they began to brainstorm further, the initial joy and relief surged into excitement. Connor felt as though he had stepped into the circle not just as himself but as part of something far more significant, a family, yet, in the back of his mind, a whisper remained. Could they all paint a mural that represented the truth of what they faced? What secrets and struggles still loomed in the shadows? Let us think of what colors speak to our truths, Ethan suggested. What about the themes we all face? With that, Connor realized this was only the beginning. What would they uncover together as they opened up their fears? Would facing their secrets on canvas only bring them closer, or redefine the very essence of their connections? As the night deepened, Connor felt that the true stories were only waiting to emerge and he was ready to explore them. What would it take for each person in the group to find their own colors? I think we should use bold colors, Mia suggested, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. Colors that stand for the struggles we face, but also the hope we find along the way. Connor nodded, inspired by her words. The room buzzed with ideas as each member of the group shared what colors resonated with their stories. It felt like powers from the past were shining light on each person, revealing connections that weren't visible before. I want to use blue for sadness, Jamal said, his voice steady. It wasn't easy for me to confront my fear, but blue is also about calm. It's how I feel after facing it head-on. And yellow represents joy. Vanessa exclaimed. Like scoring that winning goal. The happiness we feel when we overcome something, like Connor just did. Green feels right for me, Ethan chimed in. It has that growth vibe. Sometimes, though, you feel stuck, like you're in a forest and can't find your way out. But pushing through those difficult moments lets you see the beauty on the other side. Connor watched each person, their faces illuminated by the conversation. Together, they began to weave a tapestry of emotions that resonated with everyone. For the first time, he felt a part of something deeper. As they continued to connect colors to their experiences, Connor noticed Mia looking pensive. What about you, Connor? What colors speak to your journey? The question hung in the air, and Connor could feel the weight of their gazes. I think maybe orange. He finally offered, feeling a warmth embrace him. It's bright and energetic but also represents change. For a long time, I felt gray, blending into the background. But now, I'm starting to show up and be myself. The words spilled out, and Connor could see their understanding reflected in their eyes. He felt a rush of warmth course through him. They were venturing into the unknown together, sharing vulnerabilities. He was no longer alone. Now we have a palette, Ethan said excitedly, drawing the group's focus back in. What do we think the mural should portray? How do we tell our stories visually? They started brainstorming images, symbols, and even phrases that represented each of their themes. Mia suggested a tree with deep roots to symbolize growth, while Jamal proposed a winding path that illustrated the journey each person took. With every passing moment, Connor felt lighter, as if the burden of his past had lifted. They were breaking down walls, but a question lingered in the back of his mind: how would they represent their combined experiences without overshadowing the individual stories that mattered so much to each of them? As the ideas spilled forth, they began to sketch outlines on a large sheet of paper, laughing and debating over where colors should go. The energy in the room was electric, it felt infinite, but as Connor stepped back to assess their progress, an uncertainty washed over him. What if their stories clashed rather than blend? What if bringing all their experiences together muddied the pure essence of their truths? He peered at their sketches, feeling a little tug of fear as he saw how their individual colors were beginning to collide. He caught Ethan's eye and was about to voice his concerns when the door swung open, and the warm glow of the streetlights flooded the crowded room. In walked a new face, a girl with vibrant curls and an air of confidence that instantly captured everyone's attention. Sorry for arriving late. She chimed. I saw you all from outside and couldn't resist the energy in this room. Connor felt his heart race again. Who was she? Would she join in on their already deep connection, or change the dynamic of the group that had felt so right until now? Wow, I just arrived, but I can tell something amazing is happening here, she said, glancing at their mural sketch. Can I be a part of it? The circle of friends exchanged glances, and a flicker of uncertainty passed among them. What would her presence mean for their journey? Would she become yet another layer of complexity, or would she help them reveal even more of their colors, as everyone turned to Connor for a reaction? He took a deep breath, ready to embrace the unknown once again. What secrets might this new connection unlock? Would they all find a way to blend their colors harmoniously? Ethan felt the pulse of excitement in the room as he adjusted his grip on the wheelchair's handles. The newcomer radiated energy and curiosity, almost contagious in its enthusiasm. This was the moment they had all been waiting for, building their community, realizing their dreams, and becoming a tapestry woven from unique threads. Sure. What's your name? Ethan asked, his voice steady, welcoming. Zara. She brightened, stepping forward as her vibrant curls bounced with each movement. I'm an artist too. I couldn't help but notice how incredible that mural sketch looks. She gestured, her eyes scanning the colorful swathes drawn on paper. Can I add my voice? Ethan glanced around at his friends, each one holding ideas, yet unsure how this would affect their synergy. Connor seemed particularly drawn in, curiosity flickering behind his earlier hesitance. The moment felt crucial, teetering on the edge of possibility. Absolutely. Jamal replied first, nodding vigorously, and there was a ripple of agreement among the group. Ethan could feel the warmth growing within him, the realization that they were not just sharing ideas, they were opening the door to creativity and acceptance. Zara knelt beside their sketch, her fingers hovering over the paper. What about representing all of us? She pointed at the colors they'd chosen, beaming with pride. Let us combine every essence we've talked about. Each color should tell a part of our story, and I can help bring it together visually. Connor leaned forward in earnest. What if we think about symbols that matter? The fear that had tightened his chest slowly loosened. Like a bridge to show how we connect. Oh yes. Mia's eyes widened, the excitement built upon itself like flames catching fire. And maybe flowers that grow along the pathways we paint. Each bloom can represent our struggles turning into something beautiful. Ethan felt encouraged, their visions merging into something greater than they had all imagined. And behind the mural, we can add a bright sun, symbolizing hope. Our stories make light, showing we can rise together. Exactly. Jamal echoed. Let us draw from both our hardships and our victories, so when we paint it, it becomes a piece of everyone's truth. Zara began sketching frenetic lines, her hands dancing across the paper, showcasing their ideas as laughter intertwined with creativity. Ethan watched with pride as each person poured their heart into the shared effort. The debate turned lively, but in each exchange, Ethan sensed a growing bond, a connection that reached beyond their differences and celebrated their unique experiences. As colors mixed and sketches morphed, Ethan caught a glimpse of Connor, who was finally engaging. His expression softened, as if layers were peeling back. He was no longer just the cool kid in the corner, he was part of this powerful fabric they were weaving together. The energy in the room was transformative, everything felt alive, but just as they reached a rhythm, the door swung open again, a familiarity that jarred Ethan's focus. It was Vanessa, her expression uncertain as she took in the scene. The tension hung again like electric cords, this could shift everything once more. Hey, Vanessa began, hesitantly stepping into the circle. I just wanted to see what you guys were up to. He could feel the weight of collective curiosity as her gaze landed on Connor, who shifted slightly but held the line of connection they had started to forge. Ethan steeled himself, navigating the emotional currents swirling among them. We're building a mural. sharing our stories and everything that makes us us," he declared, watching the way Vanessa's expression softened, intrigued but still withholding something. "Really? Like everyone else invited?" Vanessa leaned in, eyes brightening. "I thought everyone might be pulling away again." Ethan's heart raced. "Want to join us? We're telling our stories through art." As Vanessa stepped into the circle, the barriers began to dissolve where they'd been erected. The group shifted, welcoming her into the fold. They began to brainstorm again. All voices trying to out-hustle one another with ideas for symbols and meanings. "Maybe vines that wrap around the pillars of our mural, symbolizing how we grow and support one another," she suggested, and the idea blossomed like a wildflower under the sun, gaining momentum until laughter filled the gaps where doubt once held sway. Connor joined in again, a newfound spark igniting in his eyes. "And we can paint our shadows too, to show how even the darker parts can make the brighter colors stand out." Ethan almost teared up at the sight of their different stories merging into one canvas. Each person's voice rang like a bell, clicking into unison, a symphony of growth. What began as a fear of solitude and misunderstanding transformed into the promise of friendship, community, and healing. As they pulled together to finalize the plans for their mural, Ethan felt lighter than air. He could see the change ripple out from their little group. Encouragement now bloomed, ready to impact the world beyond the walls of the community center. Maybe they could give their peers the courage to share their truths too, just as they had. "Let us do this, together," Ethan said, and as they all breathed in the gathered excitement, the world ahead seemed filled with promise. So now, my friends, this is the moment. Join us in this incredible journey. Subscribe immediately to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help our message reach even more hearts. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. Your voice matters, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. It's time to show your true support for our channel and this beautiful community we're building together.